I am also representing hundreds of parents who signed this Speak Up petition urging you to vote no on this charter moratorium. Lately, I have heard so many people calling for accountability for charter schools, which confuses me because charter schools are far more accountable than district schools. I think it's past time we started talking about accountability for the district's lowest performing schools. Why are these schools allowed to stay open year after year? Maybe we should study that. I feel like we were sacrificed in order to get teachers back to the classroom. We should not be used as bargaining chips in a backroom deal. That is not putting kids first. And I told you then, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here. And the first person who stuck up for me was you. You were the one who said charter school parents should not feel like they have a scarlet A on their chest. Well, do you think this helps? What are you doing to bring us together now?
We could talk all day about impact of charter over 27 years, why the neighborhood school that I'm zoned for has been failing for very many years. But for me, it comes down to my child and my choice. Our students, our parents, our families, they deserve our courage. They deserve us to put their students first, their options first, not political expediency, our ambitions, our goals.
I believe in public education. I work for it. I fight for it. I believe this is the most strict approval process in the city of LA. I believe a moratorium on charters is finding a solution for a problem that doesn't exist.
And now we're addressing a resolution that mentions our financial problems, but doesn't address the elephants in the room, which are legacy costs, the district's bureaucracy, and the dire need to increase revenue. There are a lot of things that I'd like to see a moratorium on. And with all due respect to my colleagues, they're just not addressed in this resolution. I'd like us to see a moratorium on low-performing schools so that kids poor and of color don't find their zip codes outcome determinative. This false dichotomy leaves us scapegoating parents who have exercised their right to choose a great school for their families, a right that wealthy parents have had for generations. And let's be clear, we're not talking about a moratorium on private schools, which enrolls 10% of the city's population. And we're not talking about limiting people's ability to buy homes in affluent neighborhoods or to go to magnet schools, many of which are explicitly creaming based on being gifted, and all of which serve lower populations of students with special needs and low-income students than either charters or traditional schools. Our charters cannot legally engage in such practices, and yet our magnet schools do. And if there are schools that are doing more, that's the conversation to be having. But instead, we're talking about telling families living in poverty that even if their local school is like the one where I began my teaching career, where only 4% of 8th graders were proficient in math, and the year before, the assistant principal was arrested for sexually assaulting a student, that they're out of luck because they don't have options that families like mine had. That is about the least progressive thing I can imagine. But I have been consistent in my belief that the best way to mitigate charter growth is to improve district schools so that parents choose us because we're best, not because they don't have other options. That is not a choice, that's a sentence.